some news last night. Wow, this stadium stuff always seems to drop either late at night or first thing in the morning.
So some good journalism here. People are doing their work.
Why is it not just like a noon press release?
I can't tell you the answer to that.
I don't know. But hey, the Chicago Tribune had a story last night on the budge. The budge, I'm calling it. The budge by Arlington Heights. Budging on their tax situation. And this from a story in an effort to break the impasse between the Bears and the local school districts over the property tax bill on the former Arlington International Racecourse site. The village proposed an agreement to accept the Cook County Board of Review's assessed value of $124.7 million for the 2023-2024 tax years. The bottom line is the total tax liability, $6.3 million. For the 2024 tax year, the property would be assessed at the 10% rate, resulting in a tax bill of $3.6 million, according to the proposal. Both figures would be a big cut from taxes currently estimated to be near $10 million. So instead of $10 million, we're talking $3.6 million. And then after that, the Bears and the school district would come to agree. They would enter in good faith negotiations, which I'm not necessarily sure this has been so far, over assessments with increases guaranteed to be at least 3%, but no more than 10% per year, according to the village proposal, because that's part of this too. Is like the Bears want to know what the rate's going to be going forward. You know, they're going to have this thing for the next 40 years.
They want to pay less now. Arlington Heights is saying, okay, fine. They want to pay less in the future. Arlington Heights is saying, okay, fine. We will increase you by 3%, but no more than 10%. The bottom line to all of this is that Kevin Warren's doing a very good job. He came into a situation with no leverage as far as the one location. Now he's got two with Chicago. The Bears are saying that their focus remains in Chicago. And I'd like to quote
Did they?
Yes.
Oh, they did last night?
They have one line comment. Our focus remains in Chicago right now.
Okay.
But
I remember when they used to say that about Arlington Heights too.
Yeah. So look, this is going back and forth now, and maybe Waukegan's about to get involved as we're going to Waukegan on Thursday. The next thing you know, Naperville's going to make a play, and the Bears are going to pay no taxes, and the school districts are going to get nothing. Look,
I have a prepared statement for you to read.
No, I'm not reading any of your prepared statements.
The prepared statement is, Adam, you were right last week.
No, here's my prepared statement. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
Kevin Warren wants the Bears to be in Chicago. Kevin Warren is going to continue to go down that road. Mm-hmm. Chicago needs to do their job and make a good deal.
And screw the taxpayers again.
That's all. Listen, the last thing I will go down, I find it offensive how the little people get screwed in this world. So I as much as I want the Bears in Chicago, I don't want it at the cost of just completely screwing the city again. So if it makes more sense that way, go ahead, go to Arlington Heights. Don't screw the city. That would be completely wrong. Make a fair deal. That would be completely right. They belong in Chicago. I really do think, though, that Kevin wants the Bears in Chicago. I do. And I think that Arlington Heights is feeling that, and that's why they have come, drastically correct in a very short period of time, which props again to Kevin Warren.
I don't disagree with you on that, but I also believe that Kevin Warren is going to make the best deal for the Chicago Bears, even if his personal preference between the two would be the city.
That's fine. I agree. But if it's close in his mind, then it's going to be Chicago.
Well, let's see if it's close enough, because I wanted to debate some of the pros and cons between both sites and who has the edge. So came up with 5 categories and which site would have the edge in this conversation to kind of spell this all out. We'll go through it one by one.
Wow.
But
Hoge graphics, mansion graphics. Look at this.
Let's talk about, I think the most important thing at the end of the day is revenue and control. What are you making off of this situation going forward? And what type of control do you have over the place you're playing football at? And this is one category where it's undeniable Arlington Heights has the edge. You would own the property, you would control the revenue, and you wouldn't have to deal with the city at all, which at times, as documented in the great documentary NBC Sports did last year, they were sending faxed letters to the city asking for very reasonable, normal upgrades like concessions to Soldier Field and not getting a response for 6 months.
Right, but so that documentary was phenomenal and incredibly well done and is completely irrelevant now because you have
I totally disagree.
You have different players, man.
So you're telling me that this place, and it's not just in recent years, it's pretty much since the new renovation was done, the city has not been a good host to the Bears. I've heard it from inside the organization so many times.
That's correct.
So you're going to gamble on we're starting over, brand new property, and when Brandon Johnson and the next Lori Lightfoot comes in, Brandon Johnson's gone, the next Lori Lightfoot comes in, who's to say it doesn't all happen again? That's a hell of a gamble compared to I own the property, I get the revenue, I control what needs to be done to this place.
Right, but you have to live in the now, okay? Kevin Warren's not going to sitting around wondering who the next mayor is going to be.
He has to.
Well, hold on. He doesn't.
This is a 40, 50-year bet.
Yes, that's true, but they're going to have a contract. It's going to be signed. He's got to make a deal. He's making a deal with Brandon Johnson, who's in his box, who's hanging out with him, who they clearly has built a solid relationship in a short period of time has been built. He's going to make a deal that whoever the mayor is, whether it's Brandon or whoever's coming in next, that deal's going to look good. He wants to be in Chicago, man. I think it's pretty obvious. Now, again, there's a lot of things that are appealing to Arlington Heights, and as I speak, as I think people, if you're missing the point here, I'm not saying that logically, business-wise, it doesn't make the most sense to be in Arlington Heights. Maybe it does. I'm saying with my heart as a fan, as a Chicagoan, I want the Bears in the city, and I want them to make a good deal to be in the city. And shockingly, surprisingly, beautifully, Kevin Warren seems to have the same thought, that they actually do belong there, and he loves the city.
I think to a point. I think
sure.
But my point to you is I think you're buying into that a little bit too much because we're living in this certain time in this whole saga where he needed to create leverage. So him coming out publicly and saying, I love the city, I want all this, and then they publicly come out and they're like, the city is our focus. That was to get the taxes down, which Arlington Heights budged.
Yeah,
It happened.
Well, and they needed to because that's the other point about this. Do you think that they would have budged if they didn't feel like this was real? That there's actual
I do agree. I said that last week.
Okay.
For the first time, there is a somewhat realistic option on the table.
Right.
Before that, there was another. This is why I said on this, if you missed it last week, Kevin Warren is cleaning up yet another one of Ted Phillips' mess.
But it's not.
Because the Bears went all in on this Arlington Heights property with no other option, giving them absolutely no leverage against the village of Arlington Heights to get any type of tax break.
Yes, that's part of it. And to what percentage of it is it really just a leverage play that a lot of he's just doing this so he can get the taxes down in Arlington Heights, or is he being genuine in his desire to actually be in Chicago?
I think it's a little bit of both.
Well,
I think it's a lot of the first and a little bit of the second.
See, I think it's a lot of the second and a little of the first. I think he really was. They've been putting.
Well, they weren't going to sign a bad deal with Arlington Heights. What that tax assessor did was complete BS.
Well, right.
They were never going to agree to that.
But this momentum has been building for a while. The Bears did a piece on their website following Kevin Warren around the city from his car to his drive. They couldn't have outlined more how much this guy liked. This was before we got to the point that we got here. Like
you read that piece. That was the first example of them trying to oversell the city to set this whole thing up.
They're right. They're setting it up. But so you think it's all big setup? You know what? I can't live like that.
I think it's like 80% setup.
I can't live.
20%. Yes, I do prefer the city. I prefer the city. I've said that a million times.
Okay.
I'm trying to talk in realistic world here. Let's put the graphic up. We're going to spend we got to go through each one of these. So Arlington Heights
You can tear down Soldier Field, Rich Low. You can't tear down the comps. They're going to tear it down and build a beautiful thing. Go ahead. Sorry.
We'll get to that in a second. Cost. This is where Chicago, I do think, has the edge, because if you're going to go all in on your own thing in Arlington Heights, you're going to get less public money, and you're going to probably have to foot the bill. They've already said that they would, with the exception of general infrastructure. We're talking roads, traffic lights, plumbing, sewer, stuff like that.
The trolley to the train that everyone's going to take, and it's going to be so seamless. Everyone's just going to get on the metro and fly in and out of there. Okay.
So while revenue control is definitely on the Arlington Heights side, if you do get a good deal, like if the city comes out and is like, you can have 90% of the Taylor Swift profits when she comes to town, which they would get all of it if she's at Arlington Heights, then the cost is a lot lower. Well, I don't know a lot. They did say $2 billion. They were still going to foot the bill for the Soldier Field project. But yes, 100%. The cost would be lower for the Bears if they do the lakefront project.
Okay. And look, you are as intelligent as you are. We're living in a land here that is for like some high-level economists to actually figure out how the dollars are going to flow and exactly how it's all going to benefit. I mean, there are ways in which the Bears don't technically own the stadium. They get a lot of benefits, and it makes sense for them to do it this way.
Well, I mean, yeah, what you're talking about is sure. They're higher level economists that can talk about the specifics, sure. But we have plenty of examples. And I think one of the if I'm going to start making the argument for you, perhaps the best argument for them actually getting this done is what happened in Minneapolis. With this being put under a government entity, with it being it's not owned by the Vikings, but they have a lot of control over it. And it was a really well-built stadium. And that seems to be...
Who built that stadium? Who made that deal?
I'm trying to think of the... Lester Bagley, I think, is the guy who actually can take a lot more credit than Kevin Warren can.
Get Bagley in here then. Get it done. Let's
Lester's
go.
a great man. He gave us 2 tours of that stadium. The year before it opened, and then when it did open. And then I went on a 3rd tour of it last year with my son.
Okay. Listen to me.
Should we get to the next point?
Yeah, go to the next point.
Okay, the next point, as we continue to talk about this stadium
Ben's
pluses and minuses.
I'm on the payroll here. Go ahead.
Location. I'm not going to sit here and argue that Arlington Heights is a better location.
Thank you.
There are parts of it that are better in terms of the next 2 categories we'll get to, but is the Chicago lakefront a better place for a stadium, or Arlington Heights is unquestionably the lakefront? Yes, we would all love to live in a perfect world where they can build SoFi Stadium, which is not in Los Angeles, but US Bank Stadium is in the heart of Minneapolis. Good for them. Totally different situation. Better politics there. More realistic. And for a while it wasn't realistic, but they got it done. Location better Chicago lakefront than Arlington Heights. Mm-hmm. Without a doubt. All right.
Thank you for underlining that. I appreciate it. Keep going.
Well, that would be stupid to argue otherwise. Now, that being said, I do think when you kind of put all of these together, revenue, the control over your stadium, part of the location advantage for Arlington Heights, while not as aesthetically pleasing, is the land. The land, in my opinion, would give that project a much better stadium experience. Talking about outside and inside the stadium, once you get to the location, because one thing I didn't put on here was in terms of location was like commuting, because I got news for you. It's a wash. It's not exactly easy to get to Soldier Field. Some people in Northwest Indiana, south suburbs, are getting screwed, but all the Bears fans up north, if you're Gary Ross and McHenry, Arlington Heights is way more convenient. If you're in Cary or you're in Schaumburg, any of those places up there. So to me, if you're in Naperville, at worst, it's a wash. It's probably easier to get to Arlington Heights than to come all the way downtown. So in terms of what they can build on the land that they have, to me, there's no question the actual experience once you get to the game, that's from the tailgating, which again goes to the last category on there. Parking, non-debatable. Parking will be way better in Arlington Heights. I'm not sure that one thing I'm skeptical is I'm not sure the traffic will be better. Traffic's terrible going to Soldier Field, but they got a lot of infrastructure and roads they got to fix up there. Trust me, I live up that way. It'll be a nightmare. So I'm not sure about traffic, but parking will be way better. I think the tailgating will be way better. I think the overall start to finish from when you get to the stadium to when you leave, Arlington Heights gives you a better option.
See, I'm just envisioning somebody driving into the city, stopping by good old Carm's Hood. Let's go over to Flo and Santos, have a pizza, enjoy. Maybe, actually forget Flo and Santos in the South Loop. Let's go West Loop and hang out at Salerno's. Let's do that. Whatever. Walk over. You see the skyline. Beautiful museum campus. You walk in. Oh, my God. Look at this sweet place. This is just amazing. Look at this. Look at this roof with the sun coming in off the lake, the glistening. To me, that's just that's a lovely experience. And sure, where you are 100% right that I will not debate is there's just no way. I don't know how they're going to do the parking down here.
They don't. It's literally not in the plan.
They're going to have to dig down to the core of the earth to do it. I don't know how they're going to do it.
They're going to build a 50
that's where people
50 floor parking garage under the stadium.
Maybe they will. I don't know what they're going to do. Somebody smarter than me will have to figure that one out because they're going to have to park the cars. That's what's up. And I saw somebody on Twitter writing at us like, look, I'm a season ticket holder, and I could sell my parking on game day for $350
at Soldier Field.
It's
crazy
because there's just not a lot of parking, which is I'm always like, why are you driving? But to your tailgate experience, yes, that will be better. Although people, this is where we could use the Braggs man because all he does is walk through the South Lot and enjoy the tailgate there. So it's not like people aren't tailgating. Our tailgates were amazing. You're just not tailgating in the same way that you're going to tailgate in Arlington Heights. It's not going to be as close to the stadium.
Eli with a super chat here, $9.99. Best thing for the Bears is a bidding war between multiple sites. It's business. Carm, you're reacting how Warren hopes the city reacts. Minnesota did also build facilities and a hotel and revenue in the burbs. They did do that. Their practice facility, they ended up kind of building a similar, all that extra stuff, all the extra development the Bears want around the stadium, which goes back to the revenue and control thing. They kind of hedged both because they built all that. There's hotels. There's a curling venue out there. The Twin Cities Orthopedic Center. I actually haven't been there yet. But they kind of created all that development around their practice facility, which the Bears cannot do in Lake Forest. So they're getting that revenue from a different stream than the stadium that they did make this bet against. What I want to kind of spin this to, because I'm not ruling out what you're hoping happens. I'm not. But this is why I didn't budge last week and that I think Arlington Heights is the favorite. I think when you put that graphic up on the screen, you look at those 5 main points, and Arlington Heights having the edge on 3 of the 5, the question is, Carm, what are you going to fix? How are you going to move at least one of those check marks over to the Chicago side? Because that gets back to that super chat we just had on this. Make this a bidding war. How do you, if you're Brandon Johnson, if you're the developers, how do you say, no, I can give you more revenue. I can give you more control. I can make the experience better. I can invent parking on the Lake Michigan. We're going to provide everyone with a raft to park their car on.
Right. Well, that could be a factor. Like we're going to have new jet skis that'll be available early in the season.
If you throw in jet skis, I'm all about City Stadium.
I don't think that Kevin Warren looks at experience and thinks that it's going to be better in Arlington Heights. I just don't think he thinks that. And let me do an exercise for you. If you please just close your eyes right now. Like if you could just thank you very much.
Careful,
close your eyes. I'll do the same. And just try to envision the future and try to envision a press conference with Kevin Warren is saying, and in one he's saying, we are so incredibly pleased to be able to partner with the city of Chicago and this great,
why are you talking so slow?
Beautiful downtown lakefront to build what we think will be the greatest stadium in the history of the NFL and sports in its entirety.
I don't believe you.
Okay. Keep your eyes closed then. We are so thrilled to be moving from Chicago out to this beautiful suburb 40 miles from the epicenter of entertainment, where we can try to create a legacy that's greater than what Dick Duchessois had here with Pat Day and all the great jockeys, and we're going to be in the suburbs because we've got great parking. Welcome to Arlington Heights. Now, which one can you hear him saying? I think it's pretty clear that he wants to say the first one.
Yeah. Are you that deranged that you think that would be the opening statement for the Arlington Heights?
We are so thrilled that we've got all this parking that you can now
that's
park.
what they're going to say. You went to the town hall meeting, which, by the way, was a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
Which is when it's funny when you start to be like, wow, this thing's not even going to be open until 2030, and then you realize it's been a year and a half since that town hall and nothing's happened other than they closed on the property and knocked everything down, and then Arlington Heights said it was worth more money.
Yeah. I remember
this thing's going to be a nightmare.
Look, some people, I mean, I don't know how much longer this thing's going to go on, but it feels like it's going to go on for a while longer. This thing's going to drag out. He wants to have it done by the end of the year. So what are we in here? Middle of March?
He also said at Lurie's in January that he was hoping to have like a resolution in 2 months, and all that became was the Chicago option to get the taxes down in Arlington Heights. We're still a long ways away.
We all silly like the mayor.